welcome to What's a Brewin'. I'm your host, Matt Love, and today we have Richard Goodwin. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we have Richard on here today because you are a multi-state, multi-year champion for the Amazing Brewery Race.
That is correct.
Yeah, and not only that, you're just an amazing ambassador for Hot Passport. It's been pretty cool, the story, how you kind of came out of the woodwork in year one. And you bought a passport, and you actually, what's really cool, you have them all here today.
Yeah, we got the OG.
Yeah. So how'd you hear about Hot Passport?
On Instagram.
Nice.
I was just scrolling through one night and saw an ad for Hot Passport, and I thought, well, this thing's pretty cool. Buy a beer, get a free beer. So I bought one, and here we are today.
Exactly. And so what's kind of your background with craft beer? Because I guess let's say your Instagram account. So yeah.
My background with craft beer is just kind of like anybody else. I used to drink the domestic stuff and just kind of started dabbling into lagers and pilsners, taking the easy way in, and just kept trying other styles and got into it, and didn't have any other hobbies going on, so craft beer and breweries it was. So
yeah.
Here we are today. So that's outside of lake life with my wife or beach life. This is what I like to do, is go to breweries.
Yeah. And I really enjoy that. You know, if you're scrolling. So first of all, what is your Instagram account?
It is Goody's World of Beer.
Yep, right there. And so if you go to his account, what's really cool is like it's your own beer journal. So you like to take pictures of your beer that you have, and you write a little bit about it. And it's a good way to go back and I'm sure look and see what beers you had in the past, and if you end up finding them again.
That's right.
So you started in year one. You won the Tennessee race, right?
I won the Tennessee year one race. Actually, I won it in December, so it took a while for me to get there. I got to the end, and I thought nobody else is doing it, so might as well go for the gusto.
And then you got the shirt on too, which is really cool. So if some of you are watching, you can see Richard's got the original the original Amazing Brewery Race shirt. So that's really cool. So in that first year, we'll talk a little bit of that. We'll go with that in year one and two. But how many of those breweries would you say you went to approximately? I know it's been a few years now, but approximately did you probably check out for the first time?
Pretty much all of them in East Tennessee.
Okay.
Yes.
So so to catch everyone up, we're in Manchester, Tennessee. So if you don't know where that is, it's you've probably heard of a music festival called Bonnaroo, which
right down the road.
Yep, and you're a big fan of that too, right?
Yes, go not every year, but pretty much every year to Bonnaroo.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of closer to Nashville, and what would you say between Nashville and Chattanooga?
We're an hour each way to Nashville and Chattanooga, so it's kind of nice. I can go drink beer an hour in Nashville or an hour in Chattanooga.
Yep. And what's great with that is there's a brewery now in your backyard. You work there a little bit right there too.
Yeah,
right?
I do.
You got the hat on, Common John.
It's kind of nice, just 3 miles down the road.
Yep. And so bunch of great beer around you, and that's it's so cool that that year you went to a bunch of new breweries out in East Tennessee and Knoxville. We had some in Johnson City, Bristol as well.
Right. Yeah. All those were new to me, and there's a few of them that I've been back to, whether they're on Hot Passport or not. So,
which are some of those? It could be in that year or just even this past year maybe that just really stick out to you as maybe what's one that like their beer is just like phenomenal. Like, you're like, man, this brewery. I wish it was next door to Common John, but.
Well, there's several. It's kind of hard to pinpoint just one because a lot of them's different styles of beer, so it depends on what you're going. Monkey Town is definitely one of my favorites. I like having them on Hot Passport. Actually, my wife is a big fan of them too, not only for their beer but their food and the atmosphere. So Monkey Town's one. Calf Killer's got a great beers, different styles, nice atmosphere. Then in Bristol, Tennessee, you had Bristol Station, which was actually on the Virginia side, which they were in the Tennessee book. That was kind of a cool place. They had some good beer.
Yeah.
Chattanooga, you got Naked River, Wonderlander. It's just kind of hard to pinpoint one. And then in Nashville, you got New Heights, Honky Tonk Brewing, just to name a few.
Yeah, those are all really great breweries, and it's fun because with the podcast, I think every single one of those we visited this year so far. And unfortunately, Bristol Station, they didn't make it through the pandemic, but
No, they didn't.
yeah. So, but there's another great one just down the street from State Street, which we ran into you there back in what, January?
Yeah, January that was, yes.
Yeah. We ran into you, and he's sitting here behind the camera, but we'll be interviewing him later. John, they went and tackled the West Virginia race and the Kentucky race.
Correct, and hit a few in Virginia on the way, and one in Tennessee.
Nice. Wow. You hit, what's that, 4?
We hit
4 states?
4 states on a hot passport.
In what, 3 days? If
It
2
was
days?
a 3-day beer trip, over 1,000 miles, and 17 breweries, I believe, if I'm correct. 18 breweries in 5 states. So that was
Yeah.
Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So that's actually 6 states. Yes.
Wow.
So
Wow. I mean, so, you know, we do this too when we're driving around, you know, going to breweries. You know, if someone's listening to this, and I like to read my Facebook comments. And, you know, number one thing with craft beer is safety.
yes.
So if someone's listening to this, like, man, you went to, you know, that doesn't sound safe. You went to so many breweries and drove that many miles. Like, what advice would you give someone that's looking to take a beercation?
The only downside to doing something like that is you have to drink the low ABV beer. You don't get to drink the good stuff, so you got to drink the stuff that's still good, but it's not what you really want to drink.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you can only do so many, and then you get to a point where you're at a town and you Uber.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And I mean, with that too, which we have when I'm driving around the ambulance, and you have as well, is you like to take a cooler. So when you go to these places and there's maybe you sample that really good beer, and you're like, okay, this is something I want to take home.
right.
Or, you know, maybe drink when we get back to the hotel room.
And, you know, some of the places, too, are pretty nice about letting you, if they've got crowlers, they'll let you have one there, and then you get a crowler to go. So there's different ways of breweries of handling it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I get that a lot. And it's, you know, hearing from the experts. I think that's, especially, you know, people that win the Amazing Brewery Race. It's, you know, there's always, you know, tactics, and it is drinking the low ABVs. And I think it's a good way as well to, you know, you're trying to hit a lot in just a few days, but it gives you a chance, like, okay, next time I'm in this area, I gotta hit this brewery.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. You know, in some places you get to a brewery, you get to talk to somebody. It's like, hey, congratulations, today's your day. You get a free beer. So,
Yeah, with your hot passport, you're just
Right.
kind of, you know, you got to get your stamp and you got to give one away. So yeah, it's paying it forward.
that's right.
A little random act of kindness, what I like to call it. Well, awesome. Well, we'll go and transition into our first interview of the podcast. This was when my cousin David and we were down in Tempe, Arizona at a brewery called Pedal Hause. So we got to interview the owner, Julian. And Julian's a very ambitious, very energetic brewery owner. And they've done a great job with their location we're at. And they also own, I think, 3 other locations with 3 more in the works. So check it out. Today we're at Pedal Hause Brewery in Tempe, Arizona. And I'm sitting with Julian. Thanks for joining us today on What's a Brewin'.
Howdy.
Cheers.
I'm amazed you can read those notes. It's very fine print.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
Small.
My chicken
Your eyes
scratch.
are better than mine.
Yeah. So, what inspired the name Pedal Hause?
Well, we opened in 2015, and as I was trying to put names together, I knew then, despite how popular IPAs were, that I wanted to do more of a German lager-focused brewery, which is the style of beer I like to drink. In fact, we didn't even open with an IPA. We didn't even brew one for a while, I think 6 months in. So that's kind of where the house came from. Obviously spelt like German house, for those who are listening, H-A-U-S. And then the pedal was just kind of like what we were talking about earlier. I mean, that's obviously huge in Europe as modes of transportation, especially in the cities. It was huge for me going to school here at ASU back in the 90s. It's still really big in Arizona because the weather's so nice. So kind of really just combining bicycle culture and German lager vibes. That's how we came up with it.
That's great. Yeah.
And I almost changed it. I forget why. It was kind of cooling off on Pedal Hause, and I had another name because I was really into Belgian beers at the time. So the other name had the word monk in it.
Okay.
Right. In fact, the first beer we ever brewed was our Belgian wit. It's called the Bier Blanche. But I asked around, I kind of like, hey, which of these 2 or 3 names you like the most? And thankfully, they all said Pedal Hause.
Okay.
But I'm so glad we stuck with Pedal Hause.
Yeah, there's a lot of breweries out there, owning Hot Passport, reaching out to all these breweries. There's so many monks, Lazy Monk and Three Monks. And do you care to share what the other one that almost became?
Yeah, I think it was, it had Mill, like Mill Avenue, which is the street we're on.
Okay.
And Monk, and I can't remember if it was Mill, and then I also liked Mill because it was kind of like you mill the grain, right?
Yep.
It was kind of a little bit of a dual meaning or duality. I think it was either the Monk and the Mill or something like that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this is a very large, beautiful brewery. What sold you on this location?
Well, the story goes, I owned a craft beer bar a block away that I'd opened in 2012 called the Handlebar Tempe, and we had, 24 taps and mostly craft beer. Though we got a lot of shit from the craft beer community because we had kind of billed it as such, but we still had Coors Light on tap, which was our number 1 selling beer, by the way. Being in a college area, it's kind of important with all the football and tourism. But anyway, so the guy that worked for me as my GM was brewing, home brewing. And this is 2012, we're right on the heels of the recession. There's still some spots open on Mill. And we just thought it'd be fun to maybe find a little 2,000 square foot spot and just brew our own beer and have our own sort of house brand. So we did a lap around Mill, and I have owned bars on Mill since 2000, so coming up on 22 years. So I was pretty familiar with the area. I wasn't 100% sure what spots are available or what I could afford, but we wandered down this side street. What really sold me on this property was the fact that everything's privately owned, including the streets. So a lot less red tape if you want to do any kind of beer festival or what have you. I also like that, as you probably saw as you walked up, we're surrounded by a little pocket park with massive mature mesquite trees, these rabbits, and like a water fountain. It just had a really nice aesthetic. And at the time, it was a shuttered Islands Grill or Islands Restaurant, the burger place, which oddly enough, I'd opened as a college student, whatever it was, 20 years earlier.
Oh, wow.
And they had virtually zero patio, and there's this huge area that I just envisioned being this massive patio. So it went from this mini kind of side project to just going for it and biting off 14,000 square feet instead of 2,000 square feet. In this space and just doing a full-on brew pub, right? Which is where the brewing takes place in the same building as the restaurant. And, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I don't always think through the complexities of what it takes to get into the brewing business, which is a whole hell of a lot different than the restaurant business.
Yeah. So
I just said, yeah, we'll figure it out, we'll figure it out. And so we did. We signed a lease and off we went.
Here we are. And and this is your first location.
Yeah.
You now have a second location. What are some key features of each, and what make them different?
Well, we actually have 3 locations at the moment. We just opened our third about 3 months ago in Phoenix. And one thing I've tried to do, like now that we've got a team and kind of people that specialize in various things, like Young Bailey over there on marketing, and I mainly focus on like finding locations and designing them. And I'm really doing my best to make sure they don't all look cookie cutter. So in Phoenix, for instance, we're in this old building that's been there 70 years. It's in a real eclectic neighborhood. I call it kind of like the Brooklyn of Phoenix. It's like an art-friendly community and a diverse, customer base, and just it's funky. So there, unlike here, we kind of have this huge, grandiose entrance. There, you have to walk down an alley before you even see the Pedal House.
Okay.
Which I had experienced in Chicago, and I just thought it was kind of cool and sort of fit that neighborhood. And then you walk in there, and the inside there is almost as big as the inside here, but doesn't have a brewery in it, right? We're only ever going to brew in one location. Yeah. At any rate, so yeah, we're just trying to kind of fit that neighborhood and that vibe, and we're even tweaking some things already 3 months in. Like, I just see opportunities to fix and continue that goal of making it funky to fit the neighborhood. And then in Mesa, which would be our 4th location, we're doing something that's more like the patio here, but a very, very small interior.
Okay.
With no food. We've never done that before.
Okay. Well, just a pure tap house.
Yeah, but
tap room.
Let's see, 8,000 square foot.
Wow.
Tap room.
Okay.
It's actually called the Pedal House Beer Garden.
Okay.
So it's got that kind of beer garden vibe, mostly outside, but we got 2 cornhole courts, ping pong, shuffleboard, a stage for live bands, 3 fire pits like we have here in Tempe, a big shaded area, and then there's an area that's literally designed for food trucks to pull up.
Wow.
So we'll have food, just not food that we have to manage and run, which, as you may have heard, is getting trickier and trickier to do these days as there's kind of a tightening in the labor market. At any rate, so yeah, that's totally different. It's a really cool spot in downtown Mesa, and then we've got one in Chandler, which is actually our 2nd location. And we're still tweaking that one to kind of again fit that neighborhood. And like sometimes, like with Phoenix, we did this exposed neon sign inside that says DT for downtown, PHX PHB, or is it DT PHB? You know what I mean? So it's like downtown Phoenix Pedal House.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of like that. So every time we do a new store, we may figure out some cool little thing, and then we go back and retrofit the other location. So at some point, I know Mesa's going to have that same neon above our retail thing. It says DT Mesa PHB, Pedal House Brewery. And we might even go back in and add that in Chandler. So that might be like, there's always going to be a couple threads that we pull through.
Yeah.
A couple design elements that we pull through. But generally speaking, we kind of try to customize them to the neighborhood.
Nice. So, yeah, you guys are definitely expanding, growing, and that's cool that you don't just try to put your brand in the area just how it is. You try to mold yourself, and it's always more inviting that way when you blend into that neighborhood.
Yeah, and so I've been doing this almost 22 years, and I've only ever duplicated a concept a couple times, and I've never gone past 2. So Pedal House is now up to 3. It's the most of one concept I've ever done in 22 years, and part of the reason was it just sounded boring to just stamp, right? Yeah. I have like a kind of a creative mind that gets bored easily, so to stamp them out was just never that attractive to me. So I am kind of still having some fun making sure they're different vibes, different sizes, and all that kind of stuff.
Do some have different beers in the other locations?
Not really. The only one, so Tempe has the most selection.
Okay.
Partly because the beer is brewed behind us.
Yep.
Partly because we have the most taps. So in Chandler, we were limited by the number of taps. I think we only have 10 there versus like 24 here. We rarely have more than 16 beers, but we have probably 8 beers that we keep, keep on the shelves, so to speak, keep serving all year round, and then another 6 that will kind of come and go depending on seasonality. But we can't serve them all in Chandler because we only have 10 taps, right? Whereas Phoenix, we kind of loaded up the taps. So they still don't have everything Tempe has, but most of what Tempe has.
Okay. That's cool. And then, from your brand and, with Pedal House, what makes Pedal House different than the other breweries in the area?
Well, there's not a single brewery that I know of in Arizona that has as big a footprint as we do.
Okay.
So I'd start there, especially for this Tempe location. But secondly, we have a full service restaurant, so a 30 item menu. So a lot of breweries don't have that, whether they're just tap room or they kind of have a limited menu. And also we have a full bar. We make one of the best margaritas in the state.
Okay.
So I would say that definitely differentiates us. Not to say other breweries don't do this, but I don't know anyone in town that puts as much emphasis on hospitality and, you know, making friends, as we call it. And
yep.
That's super important. I mean, you know, even though I'm the owner, like, I'm at the bar a lot. And I love sitting next to people and chatting with them. I almost play this game, how long can I go before they figure it out?
yeah, that's...
I've had nights where I hung out with some for 2 hours and wait, they're like, you're the owner here?
That's the best.
And that's that's an accomplishment for me to see how long I can stretch it out. So we're a very friendly team. We don't put up with any negative bullshit. If you don't have a positive attitude, kick rocks.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, you know, Bailey over there nodding her head could probably agree that it's a fun company to work for. We keep it light. We like to have fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, that's the way to be. So you were talking about the food. If someone comes in the first time, you know, that would be traveling in from a different part of the state or country, what two food choices would you recommend they got to try when they come in?
Yeah, so I probably would have answered this differently a year ago, but we just got this bomb-ass pretzel.
Okay.
And this is probably the third, if not fourth, style of pretzel we've had, and holy shit. I mean, it is at a point now where I recommend it because it's so damn good. And we make our own maple butter and our own beer cheese with our beer blanche, but that pretzel, which is obviously kind of on brand for Pedal House, is definitely something I'd recommend. And then after that, it goes to shit. No, I'm just kidding. Here at this location, we don't have it at all our locations, unfortunately, but we do have a pork schnitzel. So another German style, and it's served with creamy mashed potatoes and this beautiful mushroom gravy. It's bomb. Yeah, so those are kind of my two favorites. And of course, we got a decent burger and, you know, decent nachos. We do smoke our chicken wings.
Oh, okay.
So they go in a smoker for 4 hours, and that obviously imparts a smoky flavor, but also like kind of cooks them a little bit so we don't have to keep them in the fryer as long. And I personally think we got some of the best wings in town.
Nice. So do you keep this kind of somewhat of the same menu at the other locations too? Yeah,
so Chandler, which has a much smaller kitchen, is a little bit more limited. We don't have a pizza station down there like we do here in Tempe. But Phoenix will be pretty similar to here because we kind of designed it that way. It's also a similar size. And then one thing we did, gosh, I think it's been 3 years now, you know, and it was way ahead of the trend as far as design of menu goes, but we have a whole section on the backside of our menu that's vegan.
Oh, okay.
Not even vegetarian, like vegan. So most restaurants are still doing the little V and the little GF, and you got to hunt and peck and then Frankenstein your dishes to meet your dietary needs. If you flip our menu over here in Tempe, and eventually in Phoenix, there's just a section that's vegan.
Okay.
So there's just like 24 items on there. We have more vegan food than the closest vegan restaurant.
I thought to ask, like that's
and then we
impressive.
also have a huge gluten-free section. And we have at least 3 beers that are gluten reduced to the point that I kind of consider them almost gluten-free. So that's different than a lot of other restaurants, let alone breweries specifically. And, you know, it's interesting because we kind of did that just to make it easier for people with dietary restrictions. But as more and more people are going vegan and gluten-free, we kind of already like got that covered, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And you kind of hit on a little bit with your guys' hospitality, but you know, what is the impression you want to leave on each customer that leaves Pedal House?
We don't want them to feel like they're at a company. We don't want them to feel like it's transactional. Like if they just get great service, like we didn't fuck up their order and their food didn't take too long and they got greeted quickly and there was a smile on their face, it's like, okay, but that's what you should expect. That's baseline, right?
Yeah.
and we can't do it with every customer because of the volume, and sometimes the staff is stressed. But generally speaking, we want to connect with people a little bit more than the average spot, and it's something we work really hard to do. And it's hard to do consistently with every guest, but it's definitely something we strive for.
Okay. And just kind of switching gears a little bit, when people come to Tempe, what they might not have been to Phoenix before. What are some attractions, or it might be a seasonal thing that they should be on the lookout for after they visit Pedal House?
Right. Well, Phoenix in general, we have the benefit of a ton of big tourist draws, right? You got Phoenix Open Golf, you got spring training baseball, and you got the Rock and Roll Marathon. Here in Tempe, and granted, we're in Phoenix and Mesa and Chandler too, but there's a lot of events and festivals. So most likely, other than maybe the dead of summer, from October to May, you're bound to have some sort of event going on, whether it's a beer fest or some of those other things. There's a huge music festival right down the street called Innings Festival. But if there's nothing going on, there's some of the best hiking, camping in the country within a very short drive, if not like in our backyard here in Phoenix, which is pretty cool. There's a ton of stuff to do in Phoenix, so I think that's why we get so many tourists as it is. But if you haven't been to Phoenix, you should get your ass out here. Drink some good beer and have a good time.
And there's, especially my first experience, and my partner, cousin, it's his first time out in Arizona, and there's
That's your cousin over there?
Yeah, it's my cousin.
Oh, shit.
And so,
what's up, cuz? How's the beer, by the way?
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's our blueberry sour the boys are drinking, and I got had a German style Pilsner, which is the bedrock foundation, cornerstone, if you will, of Pedal House Brewery.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, there's just so many mountains. Like we're both from Tennessee originally, and there's just so many mountains here that my image of Arizona was just desert, flat desert, cactuses, some tumbleweeds,
A couple pyramids and a camel,
right? But no, it's like I've hiked Camelback like 4 times, and been, of course, when you get here, you got to check out the national parks, and you can make it up to the Grand Canyon stuff. There's a lot to do and see around here.
Well, people I think forget, and you kind of alluded to it, is like here in Phoenix, it's hot, right? But there's mountains and all this and that. But you can go 2 hours north, and you're skiing.
Exactly, yeah.
You can go 4 hours south, and you're on the beach in Mexico.
Yeah.
So I love it. I've lived in all over the country, including Denver, Philly, Orlando, Chicago, and here, Virgin Islands, New Mexico, and I always come back to Phoenix because it's just easy living, but with lots of stuff to do. Thanks, Bales.
The switcheroo
Job
there.
security right there. Cheers, by the way.
Oh, cheers.
Doc has ruined me for other breweries. Right? This Pilsner, so what do you think's the hardest beer to brew?
Well, kind of alluded to it, I believe a Pilsner, right?
Yeah? Why do you think that is?
Doesn't it have to, is it because it ages the longest? Is that right?
Nope.
No?
Not really, no.
Okay.
But that's sort of maybe.
I don't know.
So that's actually not the hardest beer to brew. It's hard to brew,
yeah,
but it's not the hardest. Want to take one more guess?
On why it is it keeping it at a certain temperature?
Our hardest beer to brew is our light beer.
Okay.
The day drinker.
Okay. Oh.
Because you can't hide any flaws.
Oh.
As my brewer likes to say, it's like wearing a Speedo on the beach after getting out of the cold water. You are not hiding much with that little Speedo on.
Yeah.
And same thing with a light beer. If you think about it, you can't cover it up with fruit or hops or toasted malted barley. It's so clean and so pure and so light that any mistakes are easily detectable. And we've actually, this is just a testament to Doc, our brewer.
Brewmaster?
Not to me, but The beer we've won the most medals for is
The Pilsner.
the light beer, the day drinker.
Okay, the day drinker.
I think we've won 7 medals for that beer.
Wow.
More than any other beer. And it's the hardest to make. And that just really speaks to his expertise. And one thing I love about Doc, and is so special about Doc, he knows the science, he knows the engineering, he knows the chemistry, and he has a really good palate.
Nice.
And he used to teach classes on off flavors. I think home brewers and what have you. So our beers, and we kind of use this slogan, and it's a little cheeky, but it's very true, and that is true to style. So not only is the beer really good quality, but like this German style Pilsner, which I love, he's getting German Pilsner malts.
Oh, okay.
He's using the right hops. Our Belgian wit beer that we've just won back-to-back gold medals for, including at GABF, he imports the yeast from Westmalle in Belgium. He uses real Moroccan orange peel, not syrups.
Yeah.
He uses real coriander seed. And so therefore, and the yeast I was telling you about, like, it's as close to drinking a Belgian beer in Brussels or anywhere in Belgium as you're going to get, most likely, almost in the United States. And it's just because he uses the proper ingredients and brews it really true to style.
Yeah.
But this Pilsner is, it's hard to brew too. It's still on the lighter end of the spectrum. It's not overloaded with hops or fruit or, malted ingredients. And, there's definitely other Pilsners in town that I can enjoy. In fact, we have one on tap at my one bar. It's Dragoon's Pilsner. It's good, but there's just nothing like this German style Pilsner at Pedal Hause. So.
And is he the one that you said started brewing back in 2012?
No, that was my manager. So
okay.
That's what got the ball rolling. And then once I realized I'm in the fucking deep end and
Yeah.
way over my head.
Yeah, you got to bring someone
I
on.
need to find a rock star. And I was working with guys out of Portland. In fact, the original founder of Portland Brewing, Fred, and his buddy Dave, they were the ones that were originally kind of consulting and guiding me because I had no one at the time. And then, as I tend to do, and you kind of have to do if you're an entrepreneur, I'm just turning over every rock I come across until I found Doc. And Doc, at the time, and it has not changed, is always been considered one of the best brewers in Arizona. And he said no to me 4 times, but I'm like a dog on a bone. I just kept bugging him and finally got him to bite. He was with BJ's Brew House for 19 years.
Oh, wow.
Like, do you know anyone who's been with one company for 19 years?
No.
Not even your cousins over there.
Yeah, I mean, not even any, especially
Bailey
like.
hops around like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, especially like, just how the job market is. I mean, especially after the recession, I guess you'd say, like, there's just no loyalty anymore.
Yeah.
Either or.
Yeah, it's worse now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great back then because everyone wants to jump ship for.
And BJ's is also that's a chain.
So, they're a chain, but I will say, like, just a little bit of experience I have, like, hanging with their executives and their founders. They do take beer pretty seriously. In fact, you'll see BJ's pop up on medal, GABF medal recognition awards, whatever, more than almost any other chain brewery.
Wow.
And so, and they get the importance of quality beer. So, they kept Doc around. They kept Doc happy for a long time. He wasn't unhappy when he left. He's just like, God, this guy will not leave me alone. Maybe I'll go give this a shot.
Yeah.
And I think he's glad he did. He's got a little more freedom, although these days we can barely keep up with production. So he is making this kind of making the donuts, as they say. But
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, we're moving into a new facility this summer. It's actually a proper production facility, and we'll have a tap room, and he'll have like a proper facility to brew, and there'll be some efficiencies of scale. So I think we'll get caught up with the brewing capacity at that point, and hopefully get back to doing some more fun stuff. Like, we have a whole barrel room we're building there, and I know Doc likes doing the barrel beers and does a damn fine job of it.
Oh, nice. And that's actually one of my last questions. Like, I always like to ask, what's a brewing? So, like, what's something that's coming up that we can look forward to? Maybe an expansion or a beer release. So it sounds like you have multiple other locations about to open up with the production.
Yeah, right now we're
and
hanging on for dear life, just trying to keep up with production, so we're not getting too tricked out. We have a pilot system here, so we'll always do, when the guys get caught up, we'll do a special release. I think the last one we did was a fruited wheat, but we did for Christmas, we did a peppermint porter. We used actual mint and actual chocolate. We just did an English ESB, which was kind of fun. So I'm not sure exactly what the next one-off beers that we have coming up, because I think right now we're just trying to keep up with production, but yeah, the new facility will allow us to kind of get back to doing 6 a year. There's a couple we do, like we don't mess around with pumpkin too much, but we did a pumpkin, what was it? Just a pumpkin ale, I guess, right? In the fall that we always do with this bicycle-oriented charity called the Rob Dollar Foundation. So we brew a beer specifically for them, and I forget how much of the proceeds, but I would say at least half go to their organization. You happen to know, Bailey, what the next one-off beers we have coming up? No. That makes two of us.
No, and so at this place, are you going to be like focused on distribution, like more like a canning line and doing that kind of thing? Or just mainly just come in and try our beer?
We're kind of carving our own path,
for
better or for worse, but we're not so interested in fighting for shelf space in grocery stores. I mean, like if you invest in that, I mean, honestly, to do a proper canning line and all the space and everything else you need, I mean, you're creeping up to $1 million investment.
Wow.
And then you need an army of people to push it through, because you don't want that beer getting stale on the shelves in the grocery store. No, we've decided not to do canning. I mean, here at the restaurant we hand can seam, so you can get a can of beer, but it's sort of like a growler, just slightly better. You got to drink it within a week. No, but we'll have enough capacity that we'll still like sell beer at restaurants and bars and that kind of thing. But mainly just covering our own growth and the restaurants we have coming up, including an airport location this fall. So, from what I heard, those things move a lot of beer, because people drink from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so,
no, that's exciting, and I respect the fact, not trying to get, we want to get our cans out there in the grocery stores and stuff. It's like, hey, if you want our award-winning Pedal House beer, you need to come in and give it a try.
Yeah, we've won a few awards here and there, and as I said, Doc makes some pretty damn good beers. I don't think I've had a Pilsner in my life that I like better than this Pilsner. And if this Pilsner wasn't good, I'd either wouldn't drink it, or I'd figure out with Doc, like, how do we make it good? And this is almost exclusively what I drink right now.
Okay. Well, you're selling me on getting a second pint.
You got to try a Pilsner before you leave. So what's your favorite brewery in Denver?
One of my favorites would be 14er. 14er Brewing. They're very experimental. They have a lot of different beers on tap, but they, like, one of the things they'll do a couple seltzers, but then like one's in a slushy form, which in the summer was great. And then one of my favorite beers they do is it was like a chocolate cookie dough. No, it was peanut butter cookie dough. I think it was vanilla stout.
Whereabouts are they?
So it's in Rhino, the Rhino district. So
14er.
It's 2 blocks away from Epic Brewing.
Okay.
If you know where Epic's at.
Is,
So it's really close to.
Is Epic out of Portland?
So they have. I think they're originally out of Denver. And they have a second location. No, they're originally out of Salt Lake, and then they built a second location in Denver. Also near like Great Divide, but on the other side of the train tracks.
Yeah.
There's like Our Mutual Friend. There's a ton of brews over there.
Have you heard of a brewery out of Portland called Gigantic?
I have not. No.
The only reason it stands out to me, and their beer was great, but their name is Gigantic Brewing, and then their slogan is "It's gonna be huge." They have T-shirts and shit. It always cracks me up.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Portland. I need to try to make it back there once.
Portland's got some good breweries.
Oh yeah, that's where the
Good
the
beer
IPA
scene.
all started, right?
Yeah. I have no idea.
You know?
Is it?
I think so. I think it was like the craft beer boom. I used to work for a marketing company, and it was we did a thing for Travel Portland or Explore. I think it was Visit Portland. But anyways, that was like one of their things that we would promote with like the naked bike ride and craft beer and mini donuts and you know.
The naked bike ride? Is that
Yeah,
what
they're the ones that started the naked bike ride.
Wow.
And it's a huge deal. Like Minneapolis would do it too, but there's just one day where a lot of people just wear like just their underwear, but in Portland, they're weird, man. That's their thing. They're weird.
Just testes a flapping.
Yep. So that was.
Guess you gotta clean that bike seat a little bit afterwards. Hey,
yeah. Someone put a grocery bag around their bike seats. But
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's a thing.
Better get that on the calendar, Bailey.
I think it's in June. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
What do you mean you think it's in June?
Well, it's probably pretty cold and wet there right now. So
Yeah. Definitely
so,
want to do that in the winter in Denver.
Well, Julian, thanks for joining us on What's a Brewin'.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks
Cheers.
for having me. Cheers. And if you're in Phoenix, come by and check out old Pedal House.
Well, hope you enjoyed that interview with Julian. It was a great time being down there in Arizona, and especially going down in the January, February time. It's nice and cool. Good time to be down there. So, Richard, while I got you here, so what's been cool watching you and watching your Instagram is how many states you've hit with the Hot Passport. How many are you up to now?
I'm up to 8 right now, and I've got 2 on the horizon this weekend.
Oh wow! So what are those 2 states?
Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Okay, nice. What's just a little trip up there while it's warm, or?
The Craft Brewers Conference is next week, so Common John is going for the festival or for the conference. So we're going up early on the weekend and hit a bunch of breweries.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. There's a lot of really great beer. I used to live in Minneapolis for 5 years, and you can't go wrong. Between when you land in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and if you go, into Wisconsin, if you can make it all the way to Leinenkugels, that is a really cool experience. Because how big they are. They used to be just a tasting room. You'd get a wristband, and you just go get samples everywhere. But through COVID, I think they were just doing pints. So hopefully they're doing samples again. That'd be really cool experience.
Yeah, that'd be definitely a neat one to hit.
Yeah. And then you get to see you'll drive across the Mississippi River, and it's much skinnier up there. You could get ambitious and drive way up north to Bemidji. There's a brewery up there, Bemidji Brewing, and that's where the Mississippi starts.
Okay.
I drove over a bridge just probably about 10 feet long that said the Mississippi River. I was like, no way. Because being down here, in Tennessee, it's massive.
Yeah. That'd be cool. We'll just have to see what the weekend holds.
Yeah. So, one, you go to Florida a lot.
I do.
What's one of your favorite breweries that you've discovered down there?
Recently, I was in Miami and I went to MIA and Bee Culture, 2 great breweries. Definitely good. My favorites to hit is definitely down in the Keys, Florida Keys Brewing in Alamorada. So
Yeah.
I've been there numerous times, and it just never gets old.
Oh yeah. You're on the island. You have the island beer. They make very drinkable beers.
All the beer's good, but here's kind of the ironic part with those 2 being in the Keys. Then you go up to Fort Lauderdale to Hollywood Brewing, which is not in the Keys, but has great beer to drink, but has probably the most awesome view that you can get sitting on the beach.
Yep. I've been to Hollywood. That is a great location. And it's kind of interesting though with being in the Keys. There's not many beaches.
No, there's not.
When you're down there, it's mainly like a fishing destination.
Yeah, just going out to the sandbars.
Yeah.
Or doing the Duval Crawl.
Oh, I haven't done that one yet. But I've been down there. I've been down the Key West once, but that is a good time. There's a brewery down there too, isn't there?
Yeah, actually we have 2 in Key West now.
Wow. Okay, I didn't get to check that out. I'll have to check that out next time.
Yeah, I've talked to them, but sometimes it's just hard to
It's not the right time for Hot Passport. But we're getting there. Hopefully we got some new things coming out. And I guess some people listen to this, so it'll already be out. But we have an event calendar where if you haven't downloaded the Hot Passport app, I guess you'll do a little plug in. It's a free app, and we have an event calendar that will list every event. If breweries put their events into this calendar, you can see everything in it, and you can do a categorize. So if you want to look for live music, you're looking for bingo or stand-up comedy, or you want to volunteer or whatever, well, people can do that in the app. But also, which has been kind of interesting with the craft beer industry, there's not a one portal or a website that lists every single beer festival. We're doing that, and it's in the Hot Passport app. So
Very cool.
when you guys hear this, you'll be able to check out what beer fests are near you and plug into to them, and check out the new brews near you. Cool. So next up, we'll go into our next interview is with Halfwall Brewing. It's down in Florida. That was really fun because when we were down there, it was actually Bike Week. So it was pretty close to Daytona Beach. So it was actually right next to a Harley Davidson store, I guess. Dealership. Yeah, Harley Davidson dealership. But so check it out. Today we're at Halfwall Brewery in New Symerna Beach, Florida. JR and Jeff, thanks for joining us.
How you doing, Matt?
Cheers.
David? Cheers. David, how you
doing? So what are we sipping on today?
Today is Great Bloobs, is what we call it. So it's a blueberry wheat ale, made with fresh blueberries, a little bit of Belgian sugar, in a wheat ale base beer.
Nice.
Comes in at 4.7. Light, refreshing, color's fantastic, and I mean, you can drink this pretty much all day. And incidentally, it's really good with hot wings.
With hot wings, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What flavor? Like just your regular buffalo, or?
Yeah. I tried it with our hot wings, and it just does something to the flavor of the wings and the beer. It's hard to explain.
Nice.
It just blends so well together. Something I didn't know. One of our guests turned me on to it.
Nice.
I was like, wow. All right.
And I think that's what's really awesome and unique with you guys is you have a full-on restaurant here as well.
Correct.
Yes.
So I assume you serve those hot wings here.
Yes.
Yeah.
What other, if someone comes in the first time, what other food item would you recommend them try here?
Oh man, I would say the
I've had the ribs.
tuna melt.
The ribs are amazing.
All right. And what beer would you say pairs well with that you guys have here?
We have a good coffee oatmeal vanilla stout that goes well with them.
Nice. And the tuna melt?
Oh, the tuna melt. I would say, gosh, the Road Pirate's a lager that we make here too.
I'd almost say the blonde goes with it too.
Yeah, and the blonde.
Great.
It's just a nice chunk of tuna on this sandwich. It's phenomenal.
Great. Yeah, and especially this one. It just reminds me. One, we're close to the ocean right now. Anyways,
Yeah.
Great take on the beach, or if you're on the lake, just a good lake drinking beer.
Easy. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So first question for you guys: what inspired the name Halfwall?
Well, this is one for you.
Okay. Well, the bar is half of a wall.
Oh.
It really isn't as difficult as it sounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you and the owner, or the owner's just like?
Not me and the
No.
owner, no. But they came up with that themselves.
Okay.
And it's a half of the wall. And
Yeah.
it can also go back to, you see how many taps we have inside. That's half of a full wall.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. I like that. That's
We have 78 taps here, along with beers in cans and bottles. And our other locations have about the same. One of them has
I believe the
100
Port Orange one has 100 and maybe 4 or 5 taps.
taps.
Wow.
So
With
literally,
cans, bottles.
half the wall is taps.
Dang. That's really cool. So it just most of those beers are those mainly from Florida, or just showcase beers from all over the country?
Yeah.
We have
Wow.
everything from what JR brews here, and from your traditional Miller Lite, Bud Light, and then we go craft. Just if you recommend something, the manager Sarah will do her best to track it down and find out who carries it and put it on tap or in a can for you.
It's great. And you do have 3 Halfwall breweries and then a 4th restaurant, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
What is the different personalities in between the different breweries?
I think it comes to just location.
Okay.
Got one located about 5-6 miles north in Port Orange. We got one about 10-15 miles west in DeLand. They take on their own personalities.
Yeah.
And then we have the restaurant located right on the ocean.
Ooh.
And that has its own personality right there.
Oh, I'm sure.
You're sitting on the beach. Never a bad day looking at the water. You have the water here. Never a bad day looking at the water no matter where you're at.
This water feature here, this small little lake overlooks. So, and we're sitting on the patio right now. It's just a beautiful March day, and it's good, especially with this beer. It's really nice. Especially, I live in Colorado. I think my friend sent me a Snapchat. I think it snowed like 6 inches yesterday.
Wow.
So I'm glad to be here with you guys.
I'm glad to be here too.
Yeah.
I left up north a lot of years ago, so I'm done with the snow shoveling, and that's about it.
So if someone comes into New Symerna, I mean, they could be from Pensacola or New Hampshire. What would you recommend for attractions in this area?
Oh boy, there's
No brainer, the beach.
Yeah, the beach.
You can
drive on beach.
You can drive on this beach, Volusia County.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's I'm sure there is one up and down the East Coast that you can drive on, but Volusia County is one of the only counties you can drive on.
Okay, and you guys border Daytona as well, correct?
Yeah.
So I feel like, most people probably are more familiar with Daytona, and then you guys are your neighbors. And I've in high school for spring breaks, I would come down to Daytona. And I do have a story where, I thought I was brave enough, like, I can just turn around right here. And there's hard sand and there's soft sand. And
It's a good way to meet
Stay
people
away
when
from
they push you out.
Exactly.
Now, if you lived up north and drove in the snow, it kind of helps you to get out of the soft sand.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
that was
But
a 4.
If you're not, and you don't know, you're stuck.
Yeah, and that's I used to live in Minnesota for 5 years, so I did. That was after, I got stuck in the sand before I had learned to drive in the snow. But it's a different experience with the snow and the ice.
I've yet to see where there's
I'm good.
enough open space so I could do donuts in the sand.
Right.
Yeah.
But not yet.
Cool. So, what was both of your guys' first craft beer experience?
Oh man, mine was I was gifted a Mr. Beer kit, helping a friend of mine tear out his carpet. We're good friends, and he gave me and my other buddy a Mr. Beer kit. I was thrilled. I'm like, this is awesome. Did it 2-3 times and instantly felt a need to start it from scratch. Get the grains, build the beer right from scratch. So did that, and that's really the first experience.
Oh wow! So for your first craft beer, you made it yourself that you drank.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was drinking before that.
Yeah.
I'd see craft beer and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I didn't know. It was not schooled, used to the plain tasting other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, Jeff?
Well, mine probably about 10 years ago. I went with friends of mine out to California, and I grew up drinking your traditional Bud Light, and I'm standing there going, no, I don't see that. I don't see that either. What do you recommend? And the bartender, I just started drinking down the taps, and I said, these are different, but they're good. They're completely different than what I grew up tasting.
Yeah.
So it always had that palate, and then I got the chance to do sales here, and he was nice enough to let me help him make some beer, and it's pretty fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember my first, I call it a crossover beer, I just drank the light stuff before, and then friends invited me to a brewery, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's a fun name.
Right.
I'll pick that one.
Yeah.
And, just that awing moment is like, oh, this is different. This is really good.
I think I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
My best moments is when I see the guys drinking their ultra their Miller Lite or whatever, and I'm like, hey, you know, you guys want to try our blonde ale? It's our lightest beer. Give it a try. And I give it to them. They're like, how many calories are in this right away? Even bikers, they're like, how many calories? I'm like, oh, well, it's okay. It's a little more, but give it a try. That's all I'm asking. And I'm thrilled how much they like it as compared to, you know, the other stuff.
Exactly.
But
And there's a lot of that too. I mean, I'm assuming they come in, they, you know, getting their dinner, lunch, and you know, getting what they usually drink. But especially when the creator of the beer comes out, hey, you know, just give this a try.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the craft beer industry is, you know, I would say 99% of the time you go to a brewery, it's like, hey, can I sample these two?
yeah, right.
You know, and you know, just gotta find what you like because everyone's tongues are different, and you know, and especially that person that hasn't started drinking craft beer yet. They're maybe the Michelob person or whatever, and it's like, oh, just give this a try because maybe they just haven't the opportunity yet.
Right. And that's true. All too often I see, you know, bartender might offer a double IPA to a brand new craft beer drinker. That's a bad mistake.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then they could be turned off of craft beer altogether. So
It could be that light beer. It could be, especially now, like with the sours. Maybe someone's more of a wine drinker.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing. And for me, it was actually a really dark beer, but it was sweet because I have a sweet tooth. And the beer was called Snowmageddon. I was, you know, it was like it already snowed like a foot in the past 2 days. I was like, I'm gonna get that, and I was like, oh wow, this is really good. So yeah, it's great that you've had to. I'm sure you converted a lot of people, especially coming in for the food, and you're right next to the Harley Davidson, and we're here during bike week, so I'm sure you get all kinds of people that.
You'll probably hear some bikes coming around here pretty soon, and they'll let their presence known.
Oh, for sure. So, JR, when you first started brewing beer, you had your first sample kits, but then you went to you got the real ingredients.
Right.
When did you? And it might have been a friend or just you, but what was one of those first like proud beer moments you had? That
proud beer moment was, well, you know, all your friends and family, they say, hey, JR, your beer's great. Oh my God, it's so good. And you think, you know, your head's getting bigger and bigger, but then you say, wait a minute, are you just saying that because it's free? And I'm making it and it's free.
You're right.
So I entered a contest, the Homebrewers National Contest. And I entered 4 beers, and of the 4 beers, 3 of them won a ribbon.
Ow.
So I thought that was my proud moment.
There you go.
Oh, I bet.
And so after that, did you decide like maybe I should do this for a living or?
Oh yeah. That was really an inspiration because if I were ever to get hired anywhere or do it on a professional level, well, where'd you brew? How'd you brew? Oh, in my backyard. This gave me a little bit of credibility.
Yeah.
As well as, you know, being a brewer. So
nice.
I knew where I was going to go, and coming from automotive background for years since high school, I knew it's tough to show what you're worth.
Yeah.
So.
And was this your first brewing job, I guess, at Halfwall, or did you work up north a little bit? Or?
No, actually, this was first professional brewing job, and Jeff, I think I did okay.
I would say. The portfolio speaks for itself.
Yeah.
He does a wonderful job.
That's great. And yeah, if you guys want to crack open another, we can sample another. So did you land a job fairly after that that competition that you entered, or was it a little while after?
No,
What's kind of the story on getting down here?
It was a little while after. My wife is a registered nurse working for ER department. So a job opportunity came up here in New Symerna. And I said, well, you know, at the time I was service manager for a small Chevy dealer. And I thought, this is it. You know, we'll go out there, check it out. And this brewery wasn't hiring. It was brand new. I think they just had the tanks. They weren't even brewing right away. So I waited, worked for Daytona Dodge, And then I got a call. I was like, hey, you still interested in brewing? I'm like, yeah, when do I quit?
That's great.
So, it's my first time ever bringing a beer to an interview. I thought, artists bring portfolios.
Yeah.
Why not?
100%.
So, and the rest is history. We're here.
That's great. So, now you've been, and how long have you been with Halfwall?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
So,
August will be 3 years.
And you guys offer tons of different beer. What would you guys say you mainly specialize in here at Halfwall?
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we have our core beers.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff could elaborate a little more on that. The beers that started us off.
I'd have to say the first beer is going to be the Stugel. It's an IPA, and it's easy drinking. It's pouring like a 5.5.
The Stugel? No, 5.9.
5.9, and it's an easy drinking IPA. And then we have our blonde, which we're about to taste right now.
Yeah.
And then we have our stout. Those are the three cores and then we have a nice red called Emily's Red, and I've heard it compared to Killian's, but
Okay.
that's a compliment. But that's everyone's palate's different. I don't get that. I get something that they're all easy drinking. So you're not going to struggle getting through any of our beers. The double IPA is a newer one compared to them. We have a Road Pirate Lager, which came up maybe a year ago.
Yeah. That was. I love making lagers, and it's based off of a pre-prohibition lager I made that won silver in the contest. So I did it. There was a group that wanted a beer, and I'm like, hey, try this one. So a little different now, but but yeah, that one's.
I'd have to say those are our four core, and then we just start introducing more. But initially we started off with the IPA, the Stugel.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I can't say easy drinking enough. You're not struggling to drink any of these beers.
Is that kind of the common theme you want, mainly with the beers here, or?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted the interesting part you had mentioned before. What makes the differences of some of the breweries, or even this place, some of the restaurants have a different clientele. So the challenge was, from one store to the other, from one area to the other, you have a vast variety of drinkers. They love their sours at the other store. They love their IPAs at the other store. But I commonly found that they like a beer that's not over the top crazy. Like just cucumbers and spare tire beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nice, simple. Let me taste it. It's not going to crush me. It's not going to leave me stumbling. And that's really the goal.
That's great. And so, out of the ones that you currently have, which one would you say you guys are the most proud of right now?
Oh man, this is a little tough. For me personally, the Irish Red.
Irish Red.
Yeah. I love Irish Reds, and when I first came on and the beer was, I got to be honest, was horrible. It really was. It tasted more like a brown ale, tasted more like coffee, and I was just like, this isn't what a red ale should be, in my opinion. So consequently, changed the recipe, tweaked it, and Jeff will tell you.
A lot more sales.
A lot more sales. And so on the sales side of things, how far are you guys out, like distribution wise? And
we are able to sell. We sell through SR Parat, and they sell from Flagler County south through Volusia and west.
Okay.
So we're everywhere from up in Palm Coast, Flagler Beach, down to here, and then west over DeLand area.
Okay. And so if
Edgewater too.
Edgewater as well, yes.
Okay. So if someone hasn't been to the brewery yet, they can find your guys' beer at like some of the grocery stores or liquor stores.
Total Wine.
Total Wines. That's located right in the middle of Daytona International Speedway, right off 95. We're in there, and then we're in a lot of restaurants from the Brass Tap up in Flagler, Palm Coast, and then were all our breweries. We're in the Grind up on 40, both Jimmy Hula locations, Krabby Joe's.
The easier way, if they go to srperrotbeerfinder.com
Yeah.
and you put in a little bit of parameters, the brewery, the distance,
Okay.
and it'll list out all the places that carry our beer and
Right.
what they're carrying at the moment.
Nice.
And a hyperlink for the directions.
Yeah.
Right from that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's very convenient.
Yeah.
Cool.
They did a good job doing that.
Nice. And so, when someone comes in here, what's an impression you guys want to leave on each guest that visits your all's locations,
Your family.
your family?
But you probably saw there's probably 25 TVs,
Mm-hmm.
I think from 70 to 50. You can watch just about any sports you want.
Yeah.
You can sit outside and look at the lake. There's cornhole for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have fun. Whether you're just with your friends, you're by yourself, with your family, celebrating. I don't think you're gonna leave here not having a good time.
Great. And then I'm not sure how much you're in the front of the house, but for each one of you, what's been one of the most interesting people to come in here so far?
Oh boy.
Could be someone famous, or maybe a regular that's got some.
We have a few regulars that come here. We get a guy in the wheelchair. He's an old veteran, and he's the guy that drinks Ultra, and I turned him on to the blonde ale. I tell him to keep it under 100 every time.
I'm
But-
primarily on the road, so I don't spend
Oh,
much
okay.
time here.
Yeah, no,
Nice.
I see a lot of people here because I'll come out, in between brewing or whatever, and just let people try them.
Yeah.
The bartenders and servers are pretty busy at times, and like everyone knows, it's shorthanded everywhere you go. So, it takes a little bit of effort to bring some people samples,
Yeah.
and so I try to do that when I can, and it's just so enjoyable to be able to see people, give them a sample, and then let them try it and see their faces, how they respond. And I love being incognito too. Just like, hey, what do you think of that beer? And I don't have anything on, just me myself. And one made the face a horrible face. I gave her a sour, and because the other ones were trying a sour,
Yep.
and her face was priceless. She was like, oh my gosh, blah. And somebody said, that's the brewer. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. True feedback. Yeah.
Right, true feedback. I said, what's your go-to beer? And it's like, I don't like beer. I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I can't help you.
It hasn't developed yet.
Right, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's why there's a million different wines, and we have 70 plus taps.
Yep.
The variety is so vast.
I like that because another interview we had, one of the owners, he likes to play a game where he'll just hang out at the bar, and he
Yeah.
just like, how long can he go till they find kind of figure out that he owns the place? And he'll just cut up and talk with them and whatnot, and just kind of play like, how long can I go till they figure till something comes up.
Yeah.
But no, I like that. It's cool because you get first on experience with
Yeah, you do.
and I'm sure you got some stories of converting people too.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So then, for both of you, what would you say if someone listened to this? They might be a brewery or just a business owner in general. What has been like the recipe for success here?
I'd have to say back to the having fun.
Yeah,
Make it fun. You're brewing beer.
Yeah.
I gotta give the owner credit because he leaves me do the job that he hired me to do. He's not in here checking ingredients, did you measure this? Just no. He trusts me, make the beer, sees it in the sales, so
Yeah.
proved my worth, and that really, because you got to be creative when you do this, and you can't do a bunch of other stuff when you're trying to be creative.
Yeah. No, that's really good because just let you do your artistic thing and,
Yeah.
and not being micromanaged and
Right.
just
Yeah.
and creating that just a good environment, having fun and
Right.
just being just having that freedom.
I don't know if you probably heard, I cracked the other one.
Oh, here we go. We'll try one
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, got the Emily's Red.
All right. So, last question for you. What's a brewing here at Halfwall? What's maybe an event, upcoming event, maybe another expansion,
Oh, the
maybe another beer coming out?
yeah, all the above. Not the
We got the
expansion.
Copper Barrel, right?
The no, we have banana and peanut butter blonde ale coming out.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
When
did
can
a
we
little-
look forward to that?
Yeah, it was a little trial and error. Did it last year, and when I wanted to bring it out, it was kind of late in the season, so it didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just waited till summer. A little homage to Elvis, kind of, the banana and the peanut butter.
Yeah.
That's what I might call it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And we're doing an event on the 26th, March 26th.
Right.
The Hops and Hoods at Daytona Speedway.
Okay.
We have early April, we have the DeLand Beer Fest.
Mm,
And then we have,
that's a big one.
right.
Yeah.
Because this in Florida, this is kind of like the beer festival season. Because summertime
It
is
must be.
too hot, right? It's just too hot for
Right.
beer festivals. So, I assume if someone's listening to this, or if they're in one of those colder states, that's a time to come down to Florida.
It
and-
is.
Right.
Anytime's
Warm
a
up
good
and-
time to
oh,
come to Florida.
Yeah, right.
Right. We have on the 22nd of April as well, SR Parat.
Oh no, that's 9th. That's kind of our distribution where we distribute with. They do an event for the employees themselves, where it gives them a chance. All the employees, like a mini beer fest for the employees.
Nice.
So all the vendors, everyone that they have, can come out and try the beer that they sell, then they
Yeah.
can't try behind their desk.
Yeah, and a lot of times these beer festivals, they're just stuck at their booth the whole time and
Right.
can't try the other beers. That's really
Right.
cool that they do that. I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah. No, they do a really good job for the employees. I mean, I don't see a big turnaround. I don't see,
No.
oh, this guy quit, that girl quit, this person.
SR Parat's been nice to work with.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Glad you were able to make it out and get through the bike week traffic.
Right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Halfwall. They have a really great restaurant. It was really cool, chatting with their the brewer down there. He's really passionate about brewing beer and just putting good beer in people's hands. So, Richard, right before we wrap it up, so another cool thing, in the first couple years we had Georgia on board too. Well, the first 3 years, and they had their own passport in 2020. But some things happened. They're not in the passport this year, but I think we can bring them back. I think they might have changed the laws, or there's just discrepancies there. But anyways,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, because right now Florida's like an island for hot passport breweries, because there's a lot of states that cannot discount alcohol. And people like to say, oh, it's those southern states like Texas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina, North Carolina, but even Massachusetts and Vermont can't discount alcohol either. So it's just laws that haven't been updated in the past 100 years. And as we get bigger, our goal is to help change those laws, because of course safety's number one in anything, but it's been 100 years. But anyway, so Richard, as you ventured to Georgia also, you didn't win the race.
No,
but I think you went to quite a few though.
I went to the second year. I went to quite a few. I was looking at doing the race, but I waited just a little too long, and I got beat out.
Yeah. What which ones were just pretty memorable that come to mind when you went down there?
Dry County was a good one. Stone Mountain was a unique brewery, especially with their food selection too. I believe Gate City was on the first year or two, and I was just looking through the book, and I saw where Pontoon was on it, and I wished I'd have went to pontoon back then.
Yeah.
I've been to pontoon since then, but it'd been nice being there on the hot passport.
Yeah, for sure. And out of those breweries, did you ever make it down to Savannah? Did you hit any of those?
I've been to Savannah, but not on. I went to Savannah after they come off the hot passport.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's some good beer down there.
There is.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I feel like we'll definitely do another interview where we talk about your other races that you won. The past 2 years, right? Because you've conquered Kentucky twice.
I've won Tennessee the first 2 years.
Yep.
Got beat out the third year by Lisa.
That was a good race.
Then the fourth year, Lisa and I started out good on the gate, but we got beat out by Yvonne.
Yep.
She went hard for 7 days.
Yeah.
I took it. So I moved north and went to Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I've won Kentucky for the past 3 years.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk about that in another interview. And you still went to all the West Virginia breweries.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. You went with John on that.
John and
that
I
trip.
on our little beer trip,
Yeah.
beer vacation.
Yeah. Well,
And like I say, we're going to Wisconsin and Minnesota this weekend, and I just booked a work trip today at work, so I'm headed to California in June to LA area. So I've already been looking at the hot passport breweries.
Perfect. Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining us on What's a Brewin'.
You're welcome. I appreciate you stopping by Goody's Pool and Bar.
Yeah. We'll definitely we'll tag in some videos of the pool area, and he's actually going to start kicking up some burgers here, which I can't wait for that.
It's gonna be a good afternoon.
Oh yeah, it's such a beautiful day here in the Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee, Southern Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, perfect. Cheers.
Cheers.